his legs were very long, but yet he was bent over, and he had very long, skinny arms, skinny legs, but pretty buff torso, and the head was really large. Next thing I knew, I was laying up against his shoulder. If it was on a normal basis, it would have scared the crap out of me.
Welcome everybody to Spirituality. If you are new here, my name is Kat. I'm a longtime astral traveler and spirit consultant. Welcome. If you're returning, thank you so much, and I appreciate you. I am so pleased to have Dana joining me today. She is the host of a podcast, Light Talks with Dana, and an oracle card reader. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Can you jump in and let everybody know a little bit about your journey, how you got to doing what you were doing today?
Oh my goodness. It starts way back when I was 6 years old. I had an experience at my grandma's house. She had 10 acres, and she always had three 55-gallon barrels that she would burn her trash in. I walked by there one time and I saw three little heads poking up out of the trash cans. Another time around the same age, me and my three siblings and two cousins were all looking at this a footprint, and they were all saying, "Oh, it's so big and everything," and I'm like, "It's not Dad's size, it's bigger than Dad's foot." And so those kinds of things kind of started it. And then all these things, like a missing time. I had a time where I had to drive like 30 miles in the middle of the night around 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm driving and I do not remember the drive at all. I remember locking the house, and then I turned around to walk out to my car that was parked on the street. And oh my goodness, nothing. I don't remember doing that. I don't remember getting in my car. I don't remember driving the 30 miles. I don't remember parking at work or punching in or going through our meeting. It was just like completely missing. Was living by myself when I first my first apartment by myself. Well, mind you, I'm in an apartment on the third floor. So the outside wall was flat, it was all brick, so it was all flat. And I hear this cat outside, and then some like firecrackers in the trash cans that they have, the great big ones. Then I remember just opening my eyes, and when I opened my eyes, I had an ET that was outside my window, three at the end of my bed, and one on the side of my bed and one in my closet. I remember laying there. I wasn't able to move. I was only able to move my left wrist. And I remember really stretching, trying hard to move my arm, and I couldn't do it. It wasn't really scary. It was just like, okay, this isn't right. This
Yeah.
isn't right. This is something that's not supposed to be happening. But
Yeah, I absolutely know the feeling of like that. The first clue is that this is not normal somehow. Like this is not some normal dream. This is not some normal happening. Like this feels different from everything else, which is it can be a very disconcerting feeling when you start to realize that this is not the normal. This is not the normal stuff.
right, right. And so yeah, and then I close my eyes and I'm waking up in the morning. Then when I moved to my current home, and I have this feeling again in the middle of the night, this feeling of something watching me. It was the same beings that was here, but this time just a single. It was just one of them, and they were watching me. And then a few nights later, the same thing, but they were watching my husband. And the next time, and the last time, I felt them again, but I was in the shower, and I turned around, and when I opened my eyes, I was looking like down at that 3-foot level. Kind of weird. It was like still not really scary, just like off, like you were saying. Then shortly after that, I was in my bedroom, and I felt something to my right. So when I turned, it was a shadow. And this shadow had like a vampire cape on, so it kind of came up on the neck. Then when I turned, you could see the cape kind of flow as it went away. At that point, I'm like, oh man, Mm-mm, no way, I'm going to smudge. And so I smudged my whole house, and I haven't seen him since.
I'm curious because I experienced, you and I talked it before. I did an appearance on your show, so you've kind of heard a bit of my story as well, and experienced a lot of kind of similar sounding stuff growing up, right? And I'm just
Right.
curious, in your experience, did the activity you're talking about, did it escalate once you were actually aware of certain things? Like once you started looking into it, once you kind of leaned into it, was it kind of like a sporadic thing before and then an escalation of activity once you leaned into it?
It has just been more sporadic.
Okay.
Um, it's I don't feel like it's anything that I was able to like bring about like a CE5 or anything like that. I just feel like it just happens, you know,
Hmm.
and that kind of goes with all of my experiences. They just kind of happen. I worked at Stapleton Airport and I was working as a security guard at the airport and I was in like this little hut. Again, it was a night shift and I looked up in my mirror, a fisheye mirror that we had up in the corner, and there I'm watching Sherlock Holmes in the mirror. I'm like, what? Sherlock Holmes? What? I'm looking all around. I'm looking behind the shed. I'm looking all over. What could be making this look like Sherlock Holmes with the plaid hat and the pipe, the whole works? And I'm
Hmm.
rubbing my eyes and blinking, doing the whole works, and it was there for like 30 seconds. It was like crazy. And I was like, well, that was really weird. Um,
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, and I don't know, but to me, the first thing I think is investigate. You know, that's what it feels like.
mm,
That's what it feels like to me as a message, right? Sherlock Holmes, investigate, deduce. Um, do
wow,
you
I never
now?
thought about that.
Do you because you do podcasting now yourself, and you
Hmm.
talk to a lot of different people with experiences doing this, and I'm just curious, do you find that the people you talk to, the experiences they feel or sound similar to the kinds of things you've experienced?
Some of them, yes.
Mm-hmm.
As being with the paralyzation and all, yes. I don't recall ever being abducted,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure after hearing a lot of their stories and all, I'm sure that my missing time or sleeping at the wheel, what I thought,
Mm-hmm.
um, is something to do with being abducted.
And it's
Um,
actually a pretty common like
hmm
occurrence for people. It's really interesting how different people interpret their experiences differently because I've talked to a lot of people who have the same like missing time while driving. I've almost kind of come to the conclusion that driving in it of itself, like the lines on the road and just paying attention, it might be inducing a slightly hypnotic state that makes us I don't want to use the word vulnerable, but open to stuff like that because the mind kind of tunes out things and you're really in a hyper focused state when you're driving. Because that one is really really common among people to be missing time or missing perceptions and stuff when especially commuting, like a drive that you've done a lot of times. I hear that
Yeah.
one a lot, and it's really interesting to listen to the way people they rationalize that, right? Like, oh, I must have just tuned out, or I must have just. I've heard wild, some wild stuff like, oh, I experienced this, but it must have just been this, in order
Yeah.
to kind of make it make sense for them. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, I had a cop behind me on one of them, and whatever happened, I must have been driving pretty good because I don't remember being pulled over. I don't remember ever having a ticket come through the mail or a warrant out for
Yeah,
my arrest. It's like,
the out of body experience is like the part of the consciousness that's here and operating in physical reality still remains. It's just the focus point shifts to another focus point for a while, which is it's a really wild thing for sure. And it does feel
yeah.
disconcerting. Like, how did I do? How did I end up here? Is a very weird feeling.
Yeah. I even stopped at stoplights and signs and everything like that. And I come back and I was like, wait, how did I know that was red or green or whatever?
Yeah,
It's very scary.
absolutely. And having the
Yeah.
odd shadowy figures and stuff in your bedroom can also be a scary feeling, especially if you have that a lot of people actually they call it sleep paralysis, not being able to move in your body while you're in bed, but I'm not convinced that that's necessarily what it is all of the time.
Mine, I know it was the ETs. I know it was them.
Hmm.
I know it was their doings for that. I spoke with my nephew a couple years ago, and we were talking about this, and he's like, I bet you they were actually protecting you from gunshots, which I was in a neighborhood that could have had all the gunshots. So it's like, that makes sense. And then with them being here in this home, it makes me feel like they were protecting me from the shadow that was there, because once I got rid of the shadow, they haven't been back. So I feel like they were protecting me. I call them my angels, um, because that's how they've made me feel, very protective once I kind of look back and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as you have a feeling of safety and comfort in this situation. I sometimes, and it's again, it's difficult to know how to interpret it, right? I've sometimes
Right.
interpreted it because I not only do I talk to a lot of people, but I also like watch a lot of other instances of things. It's just interested me for a long time because it's something I also experience as a contactee. And I sometimes think that the sensation of being paralyzed, because that's also really common in contact situations, is this feeling of tuning out or not being able to move, or and I get the impression that that's really, it is a protective measure. It's self-protective to protect the whole situation, and it's just because some people panic. So if they're not quite sure how you're going to take the interaction at first, they'll make sure
Right.
that you right. They're just making sure that the human fear response doesn't kick in and you don't start panicking and trying to attack or flee or run away. It's just safer to immobilize for a moment until they're sure how you're going to take the interaction. I think some people freak
Yeah.
out big time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I say all I was thinking at the moment was just calling my mom. But looking back, I really think that they were protecting me from something that was going on in the apartment complex that they wanted me to be safe in. And coming to find out recently, I've been doing some talking with my pendulum, and it's saying that this is the Greys that were with me. So and that they were my starseed family, one of them. So I'm like excited, that's really cool, that they come to protect me like that. I think it's cool.
oh, I was going to ask, like, what did you get into, like, researching and studying it, like your psychic abilities and working with them?
In 2019, I met a man, I should say 2018. I met Shane Smith. His code is the Lightning Psychic. So I worked with him, and I didn't know him, but I overheard our HR lady talking about going and doing some ghost hunting and all of this, and my ear just kind of goes up.
Hmm.
And so I was talking with her about it, and she's like, "Oh, you got to talk to Shane." So I went up and started talking with him, and next thing I know, here I am. I'm in this big old huge spider web and just going crazy looking at checking out everything. And this past year I took a oracle card reading class, and level 2 with that. So now I'm doing the card reads, and I'm working on my all my clairs, getting them stronger. And I've always wanted to be a medium and a channeler. I'm not sure why, but I feel like that is my purpose on earth, is to do that. So I'm working on trying to get all that sparked up.
It sounds like you have a natural inclination for it, being able to, if you're able to channel frequencies from different realms, then it sounds like you probably have the natural inclination is there as well.
And that's what I've been told too. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's just kind of working and bringing those skills into more zoning in and getting the control and all. It's
Do
been so
you
much fun.
absolutely? Do you get working with ETs as a contactee? Do you get messages and impressions from them?
I haven't yet. I did do one meditation, and within that one, I happened to see my mom, and I was a male, and we were both around, I would probably say about 7, 8 feet tall. And I'd just come home from work, and she was standing there in front of me, speaking to me, and just saying how much love she had for me and how much she missed me just being at work. And it was just so loving. I mean, the you wanted to reach out and hug her, but yet we just kind of stood there.
Hmm.
No hugging, no nothing. It's just, but the love was so strong
It's really,
of
really
her
neat,
saying
isn't
that.
it? How
Yes.
in non-corporeal spheres, the energy of a hug it doesn't need to be a physical hug because the energy transference is so much that all of that intention is immediately known without any kind of physical action at all. The psychic
Yeah.
communication of a hug or the feeling of a hug of being embraced, of being fully loved is such a strong communication. It comes through so viscerally without any kind of physical activity. It's a really neat thing to develop that, as you said, telepathy, or that energy sensation of being able to communicate fully without even words or physical action.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly it. And just recently, within the last week or so, I was doing another meditation, and I happened to have this beautiful being. If it was on a normal basis, it would have scared the crap out of me. He was very tall. You could tell that he was very tall, but his legs were very long, but yet he was bent over. So his torso was bent over, but yet his head was upright. So he's like up and looking at me as he's walking to me. And he had very long, skinny arms, skinny legs, but pretty buff torso. And the head was really large. And no fear, no fear. But he was walking towards me. And next thing I knew, I was laying up against his shoulder. And he was the love, again, the love that he sent me, and just sat there, and I just laid up against him. And again, you could feel like the hug, but he never said a word. Nothing was said. It was just being there. It was so intense. And all I remember is I was just trying to cry. That it was just so intense. And he was taking some of that hurt and pain away from me. That was so intense. I didn't want him to leave. I didn't want him to leave. It was just so
So,
loving.
do you interpret that as angelic activity?
With that one, because I was doing a meditation for my guides, with my guides, to contact my guides, and this is who showed up. So I connected that with a guide from another family that I've had, like another lifetime parent or relation that I had with this being. But whatever it was, we had a very, very connected energy.
Yeah, I'm only
Yeah.
asking. I'm always curious how different people interpret different interactions like that. Sometimes not always what we see is that matches the energy that you're getting through. You know, like what you're describing sounds like Slender Man. It probably scares some people, but you sensing the energy, getting energy and love off of it, right? So it's always interesting
Right.
to me how different people interpret what they're seeing versus what they're feeling and what kinds of words they use for that.
Yeah, this one here was pure love and just comforting. It's like, when somebody's gone through a hard time, like their parent or somebody had just passed away, and you just don't know how to help them, so you're just kind of hugging them, just letting them just be.
Hmm.
That's what this was. It was like, it's just letting me be. Unconditional love. It was just beautiful. It was just beautiful.
And I'm kind of curious
Yeah.
too, from your perspective, what do you feel called to with this type of contact or type of ability? What is the point of it? Like, what is the point of being a contactee, or what is it that or for you, how you interpret it to do with that kind of information or with those types of abilities?
At this point, I would say it would be more to help me on my journey,
Mm-hmm.
to get me used to seeing them,
Mm-hmm.
um, to be able to not have the fear, um, to give them the trust that they're going to be here for me. And I feel like once I get all that trust, they're going to be the ones to probably help me out on helping other people. They're teaching. They're my teachers.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious. Like,
Yeah.
once again, different people have a
Yeah.
different interpretation of what the contact is
Hmm.
about and what's going on with it and the whys behind it. So I was just curious what your interpretation of that has been so far.
Yeah. So far, I think there's just like a protection slash teaching slash getting beyond the fear of it. So it's not like, ah, call mom. You know, it's more of like, okay, you're here. I get you. You look different, but we're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's start talking. Let's get some actual communication going through. That's what I would like to do. Start getting the communication to actually start happening. And but I think this is the steps that I need in order to feel comfortable connecting with them.
And opening up those lines of
Yeah.
communication. Again, I'm just curious,
Right.
like, what would you ask?
Yeah.
Like, if you could ask the question like directly with one standing at the foot of your bed or in your room, what would you ask? What would the question be?
I think I have so many questions just thrown around in my head. I wouldn't know which one to ask because I have so many like, who are you? What are you about?
Mm-hmm.
What are your, how do you live? What is your planet like? I've always been like this, psychology has been always been my little thing. And so always want to know, how did, like for you, how did you get to be you? So I think that's kind of what I would be like. It would be like, how did you get to be you, and how did you come to me, and why? Why would you want to come to this person? You know, this person that's just so human. And I think I just want to know everything. I just want, it's like, just tell me everything. I'm very intrigued in what and how and where, and just the whole concept of them.
Yeah, the natural human
Yeah.
curiosity goes in a million different directions, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think that would be it. But so it'd be like, where do I start? Who are you? What what being? What who, I don't know how to explain that one, but what
Funnily,
being are
funny
you?
enough, they don't
You
usually
know?
really know how to explain it to you either. Like in my in my experiences, the communication along those lines is a little bit rough, at least at first, because um, sometimes we'll say a name, but some kinds don't. They don't identify with a word like that with a name, so
Yeah.
they have difficulty explaining that sometimes. It's a while. It's weird. You'll have to stay in touch with me and let me know what answers you get. Right.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely.
So.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I did not get a name from him,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was just so intriguing, so intriguing. I had a guest on my show that um I've known through another
Mhm.
podcast. Her name is Sue
Mhm.
Walker, and I had the joy and privilege to be able to meet up with her in person. And she has this picture that she drew of one of the Pontes, and this one here spoke to me. I know she was. I know she was speaking to me, but I couldn't hear her. I know her eyes were telling me a story, telling me something, but I couldn't hear it. And that to me is very frustrating for me because it's like, I know you have something to tell me. I can't hear you. And it's to me it's very frustrating because I want to be able to hear what they're trying to say to me. I want to hear the story,
Yeah,
you know.
and allowing the energy translation to take place is that's also an odd sort of thing. But I no doubt at all that
Yeah.
that will come because it sounds like you have a lot of the same tendencies and a lot of the same like base inclinations and abilities. So no doubt at all that
Oh,
that's all being developed behind the scenes for you. Probably they're already showing up and giving you downloads and stuff. It's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. And the with downloads, speaking of downloads, I mean, with you, how do you experience downloads?
It from it again, communication kind of comes in different ways depending on who or what you're communicating with. So
Okay.
sometimes I get big chunk what I would call a download, at least for me, and I think part of our problem even as humans discussing this kind of stuff is our vocabulary for it is we don't all have the same meaning for the same words, and so even just communicating amongst ourselves we don't have a highly developed vocabulary for how we talk about it. um
Right.
but for me what I would call a download is when I get hit with a total concept. So when a complete knowing of something comes in total concept format, broader perspective knowing. And then it's almost like my human self or my waking ego personality has to scramble to try and put a word order on that knowing to explain it to myself or to explain it in a linear format because the understanding of the
Yeah.
concept came in a complete chunk of information.
That makes sense.
Um,
That makes
and
sense.
sometimes I can't get a full word order on it. I can't get a full linear human understanding on what I've been told. And there's pieces of it that I'm like, okay, some of this it feels spotty or chunky because there's parts of the full communication that aren't things that I have an understanding of. It's very difficult to communicate things that and have them come through at least the human ego personality in a way that
Right.
when that human self that you are is not fully abreast of all of the information that's coming through. So sometimes what I work on is because sometimes I get stuff I know that this is like broader perspective information about things involving physics that I don't quite understand. Like I can feel that there's pieces of my information are missing in order to make it make sense. So I'll
Right.
if I get something like that through that I'm like, oh, I'm missing chunks of information on my side to really make this make sense. That's when I get on Audible and find myself a book, start listening to physics or magnetics or whatever piece of it I feel like I'm missing to hopefully fill in at least some portions of base understanding about things to sort of make the rest of it integrate and make sense to me.
Oh wow. Do you ever get like a really high pitched ring in your ears?
Hmm.
I hear a lot of people get that sort of thing. Um, I've also been told I have tendonitis. So, uh,
Hmm.
do you know how to tell the difference of
Here's
what's a
how I would
download?
describe the difference, and I don't know how other people view this, right? Again, we're all kind of
Right.
holding each other's hand here through stuff that there isn't a full definition for anybody, I think. But for me,
Right.
when that pitch hits like it's literally coming through my left ear and involves like almost where it almost affects my sense of orientation in the room. And there's kind of a phase shift that comes with it too, where I almost feel a little disoriented for a second, but it comes through super loud and intense in sometimes in both ears, but usually in one or the other. and also has sort of a little bit of a wobbly or phase shifting feeling that comes with it too. It's like you get hit with the energy of it, or I do anyway, physically as well. So,
Yeah, mine is typically, I feel like it gets really high pitched.
hmm
It gets really high pitched, and I have had one time where I had the whoa, whoa, whoa
hmm
come through.
yeah, different
Um,
frequencies. It's interesting those the sound, the clear audience, the sounds and things that come through with it do come
mhm,
through in different ways like that. It's interesting. I would
okay.
be lying if I told you that I
Yeah.
knew what the different ones were if they were coming from different you know what I mean? Like,
Right. The different beings have their different levels, so that they have the different pitch to come through with that, with their information.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I don't have a list or a chart. Like I'm not cool enough to do that. And I kind of I don't think anybody has like the full scoop on everything that's going on, right? I personally I feel a little skeptical of people who are just like, no, I know this is what it is and my truth is the truth. I feel like those people are trying to sell you their book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because anybody who really experiences stuff like this knows for sure, like the more I know about it and the more I experience, the more I know that I know nothing. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot.
Right.
So I'm always a little skeptical of people who are quick to give you the answers, right? Because I don't think any of us actually knows. We're all kind of holding each other's hands together through this.
Yeah, I definitely don't know the answer to anything. I'm still trying to find out what, excuse me, um, who I'm really speaking with, who's actually visited me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
so I don't know, and I don't think I will ever know. I'm just that kind of person. I'm never gonna know what's happening. I mean, even though I have all these questions, I want so much detail. I'm still not gonna be there.
Yeah, I think things will be made clearer once we transition back and can get reintegrated into higher levels of consciousness ourselves. But from the human standpoint, I think it's very difficult to translate all of that information accurately enough. One of the things that I've been working on is screening out like the feeling of personal associations that come through versus the actual information that's there, because the human mind is very much like we make associations like this, and sometimes that's helpful if you're trying to translate a message, but sometimes it's also erroneous and it's not helping. So it's like feeling the difference
Yeah,
between, okay, am I adding additional context or meaning to this that's not actually a part of the communication through association, or is this actually a part of the message? So it's yeah, it's odd, and I think it takes from the human perspective, the waking human perspective, like a time and practice to feel through all of those different energy threads. It's a weird thing.
yeah. I get that when I'm doing card reads. I have like what you're saying, those downloads. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like they're the downloads, and it's like, okay, I know what you just said. I know what I just saw. How do I bring that about? So I feel like the ego then kicks in to try to explain it. And
Mm-hmm.
then, like you're saying, it's like, okay, am I explaining it the right way that they intended? So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, picking
Yeah,
through.
it's
It's hard
tough.
to pick through how to say things in a human way in that linear word order that actually conveys the meaning of everything you're getting through. It's like I'm not sure. I don't know that I'm saying this well, but hopefully it resonates for somebody out there.
Right, right. So far, it's been working. I mean, so far, most of my readings have been really good. I mean, I've been pretty happy with the readings I do.
hmm
And so whatever I'm doing is working.
Yeah.
Whatever information I'm conveying is
Yeah,
working.
as long as it
So,
feels good and feels complete and feels like it all got out there, and then you can you feel your way along the energy currents a little bit.
yeah, yeah. And the more practice, the more I get with it, it'll get better. I know.
Yeah.
But It's still fun.
Do you want
It's still
to,
fun.
speaking of which, do you want to let people know like where they can find you, where can people click to come find you and get readings or check out the podcast?
Yeah, I have a website now. It's www.lighttalkwithdana. That's Light, um, with Dana.com. So lighttalkwithdana.com.
Perfect.
And that's got all my information on it for the podcast. If you want to be a guest or if you would like to have me as a guest, there's links on there for that. There's links on there to get set up with a reading. I also do photographs. So, and those will be photographs of deceased people.
Hmm.
And if there is a photograph with a living person, I will need the okay from that person in order to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm open to doing all of those. But all of those links are on my website,
Awesome. And I'll throw,
and you can contact me through that.
yeah, and I'll throw it in the description so people can click on it and check it out. Thank you so much for being
Yeah.
here and for sharing. I love the candid share. That's just these are my weird experiences, and I don't know, but I'm working on it, and it's growing, and I really love that. Sometimes I talk to a lot of experts. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's so healthy
Yes.
and normal and natural to be like, I don't know, weird stuff, and I'm working with it and finding the journey exciting. And I think that's a beautiful share and a beautiful way to let other people know that, whatever you're going through, you're not alone. Other people experience things, and there's a whole world to explore with it. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. And that's what my podcast is about too, is just sharing your stories and letting other people know that you're not alone, you're not going crazy. It's the stuff is happening,
Hmm.
and I like to tell my stories and I like to hear everybody else's stories. So, yeah, I invite everybody. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
great.
And thank you guys for being here so much. I always appreciate you. Like, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Go check out Dana and throw your support and check out her podcast. And we will see you guys next time on Spirituality.